I don't really know what the point of me doing all this is. I mean, I keep stockpiling videos. Like, I've recorded a lot of videos, but I haven't edited any of them, so it's like I'm doing this work for nothing because I'm still not uploading on the channel at the moment. I'm still recording and working on videos, I'm just not finishing them, but I'm gonna continue to stockpile for whatever reason. I don't know, school starts soon, I don't know how much time I'll have to record then, so maybe that's what this is all for. Kind of maybe in the back of my head I'm like, you need to get videos that are pre-recorded, not pre-edited. Don't worry about that, we'll get that done on the day, but you need recorded videos now so that we can work on homework later. Could be. All right, Godzilla Aftershock explained. Let's do it. What's up, everybody? D-Man back. Welcome to a brand new video. Today we're doing another Godzilla King of the Monsters explained video, although not really. This is another explained video for Godzilla Aftershock. Alright, let's run through it. So I've already talked about Muto Prime, I've already talked about Dagon, so we're not going to be like going through the plot in terms of the way it's done in the story, but we'll run through Godzilla Aftershock and talk about everything interesting that we can that appears in it. Alright, starting off, Alan Jonah, not Jonah Allen, Alan Jonah, a well-funded mercenary with a long trail of bodies behind him, is found in a military base in Guam. As he's found in this base, he's kind of arrested. A sinkhole opens up and a Muto attacks. It's got a nuclear sub in its mouth, it's destroying it. Godzilla then shows up and chases it off. So this is our setup for the story. Serizawa and Monarch show up. Serizawa explains that Godzilla is hunting the Mutos, which is similar behavior to what we see him do in Godzilla 2014. Alan Jonah then attacks Emma Russell on a plane, which is where they first meet. It's confirmed in this story that Alan Jonah is the same mercenary who was caught snooping around a Muto dig site back in 2005 and was later arrested before spending time in Pakistan and then went off the grid. So he is the mysterious mercenary from the Monarch website. That does slightly contradict to information we get in the Godzilla King of the Monsters novelization, but we'll talk about that when I break down the Godzilla King of the Monsters novelization, which I will be doing soon. Alan Jonah is said to have accessed Monarch files that he has had access to, which is how he has the ability to know where all the different Monarch outposts are, which is how he's so intelligent about what Monarch is up to. Emma expresses some distaste for human tendencies to be divided over trivial manners, which is our first indication that Emma Russell is a little bit unstable when it comes to her views on humanity. She goes off to Japan. Meanwhile, Chen is referenced, and her saying myth is our compass is also referenced. Muto Prime is named Jinshin-Mushi in the story by the Japanese, which is this myth of the dragon beetle derived from the Japanese for the bringer of earthquakes. During all this, the Muto Prime, which I'm just going to refer to as the Muto because it's the only one in this story, so it'll make it easier. I don't really like calling it Jinshin-Mushi because I don't know. I always feel like I'm going to pronounce that name wrong. Anyways, the Muto hunts down some more nuclear subs and Godzilla intercepts it in the process. Meanwhile, again, Emma finds two frozen but hatched Muto eggs in Russia. These frozen but hatched eggs are kind of hinted at to be the Muto eggs, the eggs the Mutos from Godzilla 2014 came from, but they can't be because we know those eggs originate from the body in the Philippines, which is weird. You know, that's where Dagon died and that's where the Mutos come from. So what these two hatched eggs in Russia are, I don't totally know what the implication there is supposed to be. Maybe that just means there's more Mutos out there. We do know that there's at least one left alive, the female Muto seen in Godzilla King of the Monsters, but there only appears to be one left, so I don't know what the second egg would be. Alan shows up again and claims that man is the real monster before the Russians take him away. Emma hears this and inwardly kind of agrees with the claim. She's like, yeah, mankind kind of is evil. It also echoes the sentiment we heard in Godzilla 1984. The Muto attacks a power plant in France. Godzilla shows up again to stop it, very similar to the events of Godzilla Awakening, where Godzilla is just kind of hunting down Shinomura all throughout the South Pacific. It's kind of the same deal that's happening here. How this isn't a bigger deal that's talked about in Godzilla King of the Monsters, I don't know. This is still canon to Godzilla King of the Monsters, so all of this is supposed to have happened in the MonsterVerse, and the fact that no one mentions these crazy 2014 attacks where Godzilla's hunting down Mutos is kind of surprising. Godzilla gets pretty scratched up in this fight. You can actually see the scars on his body in 2019, which is cool. It's a fun little detail. There's an image of Ghidorah trapped in ice here in a Monarch base, which does create a weird continuity error. This scene is supposed to take place in 2014, and Ghidorah won't be discovered until 2016 by Vivian Graham. So how on earth they have scans of Ghidorah, I don't know. It was a fun little Easter egg in there by the artist, but it's a mistake. It's not supposed to be in there. there. So just ignore that. One thing we shouldn't ignore is the Death Jackal scene in the Monarch base. The Death Jackals does make a return from Skull Island, the Birth of Kong, which ties this comic into the last one, so him making a cameo is pretty important. This is all done inside of Monarch Outpost 14 in the Philippines, which is built around the carcass of Dagon. This does suggest, however, that Monarch has had involvement on Skull Island since 2012 when Birth of Kong ends. So since then, we know that Houston Brooks goes back to the island to retrieve his son Aaron. We now know in Godzilla King of the Monsters that Monarch set up an outpost, Outpost 33, on Skull Island. And here we see that they have retrieved a sample. They've retrieved a Death Jackal from that outpost. Why they don't just have him on Skull Island, I don't know. Why they decided to take him back to the Philippines, it's beyond me, but they did. We learned that Muto Prime kills Godzillas by laying eggs inside of their bodies. We actually learn a lot about the way Muto Prime works. We get a full backstory for him. It's confirmed that the skeleton in the Philippines that was discovered in 1999 is the body of a dead Godzilla, which puts to rest some of the speculation that there was in the community back in 2014. We do get a full backstory for the Mutos that I cover in the Dagon video. Houston Brooks shows up, which is cool to see him back. It's also cool the way the artist draws him just like an older version of Corey Hawkins. He's looking just like he does in Skull Island Birth of Kong, which is fun. Houston Brooks shows up and mentions how hard it was to save his son Aaron, which does tie this directly to Skull Island Birth of Kong. Emma mentions that Aaron was in fact found on the island, but there is no mention of him being brought back to civilization, implying that he might have stayed there with the Iwi people. Houston alludes to something bad having happened to Aaron on the island, but we never learn what that is. Jonah escapes Russian custody and disappears, so this will give him the ability to show up later on in the MonsterVerse unaffected by what's going on here. Emma retrieves a prototype version of the Orca that was in government containment. We actually learn in the Godzilla King of the Monsters novelization that she puts it in this government facility after telling Mark it was destroyed because she doesn't want Mark to know that it's still around. Emma then uses this prototype Orca in a stadium to amplify its sound, which will give her the idea to do the same thing in 2019 to attract Ghidorah to Boston now that she knows it works. The Orca test fails and Muto Prime goes crazy, killing everyone around, which teaches her how to use the proper frequencies and which frequencies not to use, as we see her doing in Godzilla King of the Monsters. Seeing the Orca fail, causing Muto Prime to go crazy, is actually the exact fear that Mark has in King of the Monsters. That's why he doesn't want the Orca around, is because he feels like it's going to make the monsters lose it. The military likes the idea of letting the monsters fight. It's a nice little callback to Godzilla 2014, but they want to do this as a way to have Godzilla fight the Mutos, as a way to have Godzilla be killed by the Muto. They do expect Muto Prime to win. They want Godzilla to be killed by him, and then for Muto Prime to go into hibernation for thousands of years. The reason they're okay with this is because Godzilla being dead is good for them, because then there's one less giant monster to worry about, and it's also good because the eggs, the Muto eggs inside of him, won't hatch for a long time, so they don't have to worry about it in their lifetimes. There's a Monarch hearing following Muto Prime's outburst, very similar to what we see at the start of Godzilla King of the Monsters. Emma then uses the Orca to lure the Muto to Montana. We see the same thing done in Godzilla King of the Monsters to lure the Titans to Boston. Godzilla then shows up and gets very scratched up in the fight. Again, these scars are present in Godzilla King of the Monsters. Muto Prime's sonic screeches and Godzilla's dorsal fins shatter into pieces. This explains why Godzilla will need to regrow his dorsal fins in King of the Monsters. It will also explain why Godzilla's dorsal fins have adapted quite a bit since this point. Godzilla's dorsal fins not only take on a new shape, but they also take on the new ability to bend. As we see when Ghidorah wraps around Godzilla's body, the dorsal fins bend underneath Ghidorah rather than being these rock hard, solid pieces of Godzilla's body that they are here. They have evolved so that they can be bent and won't shatter the way they are here, so they're much less fragile the next time around. The Orca tricks the Muto into lowering its guard, giving Godzilla enough time to get the ability to gain the upper hand. Same idea as what happens in Godzilla King of the Monsters between Godzilla and Ghidorah. Godzilla then picks up the Muto and throws it before stomping on its head and crushing its skull. That's how he kills it. Very similar to what Kong does to the Skull Crawlers in Kong Skull Island. This all sets up Godzilla King of the Monsters in a number of ways. In addition to showing Emma's first meeting with Jonah, we also see the first implementation of the Orca. Godzilla is left very injured at the end of this, explaining why he disappears and needs to heal until 2019. His spine's being shattered in this, explain why they regrow and take on a new shape, seen in Godzilla King of the Monsters. The cuts on Godzilla's body leave visible scars here that may explain why the atomic energy seeps through his skin in some areas. It may be shining through this scarred tissue. And that's all the ways that I could think of that it's set up for Godzilla King of the Monsters, but if there's more, there could be, so let me know if there are down below. Like I said, I will be doing a full breakdown, multiple full breakdowns for the Godzilla King of the Monsters novelization very soon, as I'm just about to finish that book. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you guys next time. D-Man, out.